What does empathy make you think of?
Well, empathy makes me think of accepting what other people need, even if you don't agree with it.
Plenty of people have bad experiences with accepting everyone. Wouldn't you say that can be perceived as negative?
Yeah.
Can you go more in depth than that?
I think mental health is slapped on everyone that has a bad day and goes to a doctor about it. I hear statements like this a lot when I bring up how I'm attempting to get my autism diagnosis. They cite some statistics about how overdiagnosed autism and ADHD are now compared to in the past. How everyone thinks there's something wrong with them these days and how soft this generation is compared to previous ones. They don't understand why I, a high-functioning, low-support needs individual, would want to get a diagnosis that they see as some kind of scarlet letter that will ruin my life. They haven't seen how my symptoms impact me when I'm not wearing the mask I've been using since I was a child. They don't see me at my worst, so they assume my worst doesn't exist. I want my diagnosis because it will validate my experience in life. It will provide an explanation for me being the way I am. It will give me the access to the resources I need to help me navigate life as a disabled person. Not every autistic person does, however. For some, an autism diagnosis reduces their opportunities. They'd rather just know there's something off about them than label it autism and carry that label with them. Neither of us is wrong. It's a spectrum disorder. Of course, the experience is a spectrum as well.
Thank you. What does empathy make you think of?
Empathy makes me think of understanding and knowing that your beliefs aren't universal.
Plenty of people have bad experiences in navigating people's beliefs. Wouldn't you say that can be perceived as negative?
Well, of course, everyone's experience is different, but that doesn't mean they can just slap their beliefs as a blanket over everyone else.
Can you go more in depth?
Yeah, just because you like chocolate doesn't mean I have to like chocolate, right? You see how that doesn't make any sense? It's the same for pretty much everything else. Medications worked for me, but I know they might not work for you. It's called personal preference. Personal preference does not make laws. People always bring personal preference and religion into big decisions that need a logical and unbiased view. Big decisions like vaccines or gay marriage or women's rights. Things that to me seem obvious, but people want to bring in religion and personal beliefs and muck up the legal process. Human rights should not be a debate at all. Pastors like Father Benjamin will tell you some bullshit about how you can't be gay because of some mistranslation in one edition of the Bible. And I will give religious people a bit of credit. A lot of them have good intentions. A lot of them are just so blinded by their religion that they fail to see anything other than that. They fail to have empathy and instead expect everyone to subscribe to their beliefs. A lot of them genuinely care for the people they are unintentionally hurting. They just refuse to feel empathetic to anyone or have any sort of conversation. Paul Bloom talked about something called rational compassion, and I think a lot of religious leaders and people who use their own preferences to make generalizations could take a page from his book. Paul Bloom talked about not letting empathy get in the way. He encouraged people to use logical reasoning over empathetic feelings. I wish more politicians thought like this. So many huge decisions are being made with good intentions and bad empathy.
Do you think empathy is harmful?
I don't think so. Now, it's not a weapon. You mean to tell me that my openness is a crime to someone? Well, yeah, because I'm going to go stab people with my emotions. Yeah, right. In a state of this economy, it's hard enough living, yet alone without support.
Well, why do you think it's important?
I was always taught to treat people how I wanted to be treated. That is, with some sort of fuck to be given. You know, when I was younger, all I wanted was for someone to say, I hear you. To know that people got my back. How is that dangerous? Human decency is not a bad thing. I thought it was natural, is it not?
Well, is it?
Yeah, because according to a plethora of scientists, it is. Empathy is natural, like when you yawn after seeing one of your homies yawn.
Some might argue that that's just mirror neurons, not exactly empathy.
What? Because they read people like Bloom? They think that somebody is going to use their emotions to their advantage. Not everyone is a villain. What I do see in a villain is a closed-mindedness that allows people to give a shit. People go about empathy is wrong. It's a beautiful thing. Yes, everybody has a potential to be harmful, but it does not mean that everything is harmful. What does empathy make you think of?
Empathy makes me think of the push and pull, the give and take in any sort of relationship.
Plenty of people have bad experiences with relationships, so wouldn't that make empathy perceived as negative?
Well, people are like bridges. Relationships are like bridges. It's the way we're connected to one another. There's always a level of strength within them or lack thereof. They can be big and strong or simply temporary, and that's okay. They're all serving a different purpose in some way. You could go your whole life not crossing the same bridges others may have, and that's okay. Some of your own bridges you might never be able to cross again. And I mean, when discussing empathy, it always goes back to understanding others and putting yourself in their shoes. What if that isn't all there is? What if you take those shoes and you turn them into gloves, per se? Growing, adapting, changing. You don't have to cross the same bridge twice if you don't want to, but you can always take away lessons from each new experience, building new bridges in place of old ones. Understanding and learning from certain people can make it easier for you to understand others. Empathy is trial and error. There's no right way to be empathetic. You do your best, and that's all you could do. I mean, as my friend Zachy once said, after his parents split, empathy saved me. Not because it's easy, it was work. I always think of my parents' divorce as an empathy gym. For me, that forced me to work out my ability to care about and understand other people. Truthfully, as long as you're trying to understand the people around you, you can cross any bridge you please.
Thank you. Empathy can be seen and used in millions of different ways. There is no right or wrong way to be empathetic. Even if someone may see things one way does not mean you will. Everyone has their own experiences which helps them develop and act with empathy in different ways.